Alright, today we are going to do or learn how to sketch quadratic curve in the form of a vertex form, the completing the square form. In order to do that, we need to learn how to find the x-intercept, y-intercept, and the minimum, maximum turning point. Okay, so there's a few things we need to learn. So just now we did our decimals, and then you have seen the pattern already. So the turning point, is this a maximum or minimum turning point? For the first part A. It is a minimum. Why is it a minimum? Why? Yeah, okay, so the question is, why is the curve U-shaped? The coefficient of x squared is positive, so it will be minimum. Can you tell me what's the next one? Maximum. Next. Minimum. Next. Minimum. 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 Maximum. Minimum. And maximum. So this is what we call the nature of the turning point. Is it maximum or minimum? Now, we will look at what is exactly the turning point now. So this is the next column. From the graph, what was the turning point? -3, -1. So let us look at two more examples. What is the next turning point? -3. Yeah, copy wrongly. Is it -1? So the turning point for the y coordinate should be -1. And the last one, +3, +1. Now, by right after seeing three examples, you should be able to see a pattern. Do you all realize what's the pattern? If the x is a -3, the turning point will be a, if this is x -3, this will be, now if you cannot remember, you can do this. X -3 equals to 0, x equals to 3. What about the y? It's the same. If this thing is 0, your y value is -1. So it will be the same. Okay? You must be asking why I let it be 0, right? Because you look at this question here, I am looking at the minimum points. During exam, they actually ask you to explain. So this is how you explain. This is one way. Okay? It is a minimum point. The smallest you can get for this is, the smallest you can get, smallest is 0. That's the smallest you can go. It's the 0. So when this is 0, x -3 must be 0, square root. And therefore x is 3. So for minimum, x must be 3. So when x is a 3, the y will be a -1. So this is why we have a minimum point, x is 3, y equals to -1. But for now, we just look at a pattern. You should be able to tell me the rest straight away. What is the minimum point for part E? Part E minimum point is -3, -1. Next, -3 and +1. Next, -3, -1 and -3, -1, and the last one, -3, -1. So, whether the question is 5x squared or 1x squared, does it matter? The answer is, it does not really matter what number is in front of the brackets. You just follow the x inside, make sure it's so-called like opposite sign, and the y will have the same sign. So, having learned how to find maximum, minimum point right now, we are going to sketch the curve. Okay, you have learned in Emacs how to sketch a quadratic curve. So the first thing you need to know is the x-intercept and y-intercept. Wow, very confused. Which one is x-intercept? Which one is y-intercept? Okay, so I teach you, no need to remember like that one. Just remember, let x be 0, let y be 0. Okay, so the first one is let x be 0. is the easier one. So when x is 0, f0, that's one of you had a mistake just now, equals to 2 bracket 0 plus 1 square minus 8. And the answer is negative 6. Why? Because this is 2 minus 8. So it's negative 6. Now I have a point 0, negative 6. So you don't have to worry whether it's x-intercept or y-intercept. You just know that later I got to plot this point. Correct. But 2 times 1 is 2. So 2 minus 8 is... okay, don't worry about this. You just need to key into your calculator exactly what you wrote. It should be negative 6. Alright, so don't worry. Now, this is the one that I need you all to focus because that's why I need your attention. When y equals to 0, okay, so let this be y. Then I will have this. You should have learned this in your Emacs. They will use the word solve this using completing the square. If you go and use the quadratic formula or you use factorized formula, you get 0 mark out of 3 marks. You will not get a single mark, not a single one. So you need to learn how to solve this using completing the square form. So let's do it. It's very, very intuitive. What is the first thing you need to do? To solve this, I need to find x. So the first thing you need to do is bring over the 8. So minus 8 bring over become positive 8. Okay, I pause here for a short moment. Can you all see what happened? I'm trying to find x. So I will have to do some manipulation. The easiest manipulation you can do is I will have to first remove this. This is the furthest away from x, right? I remove usually the one that's furthest away. So minus 8, I remove by plus 8, plus 8. Okay, so no more minus 8. So what is the next step I need to do? Other than Brian, the rest? Yeah, okay, so I was expecting that. You cannot square root first. Because when you square root, you got to square root the left-hand side and the right-hand side. I do not want to square root this because it's very complicated. So there's another one. You have to, instead of square root the whole left-hand side, very complicated. I will bring over the 2 first. So divide by 2, divide by 2. Okay, the next one, then you do that thing, right? You will square root. What is wrong here? This is the common mistake. What is wrong? Yes. You know that quadratic has 2 answers, and many a times we always forget to plus minus. Hence, we will have x plus 1 equals to 2 or x plus 1 equals to negative 2. And x equals to 1, no need bracket, or x equals to negative 3. Now, I know I'm going to plot, right? So usually I will write down the coordinates. It's not a must, but writing down the coordinates help me to summarize what I've just found and what's the reason why I find that. Because I need now the x-intercept. These points are on the x-axis, so I know that this is the x-intercept. So I found the x-intercept, I found the y-intercept, and today's lesson, what is the minimum or maximum? Yes, very good. So what is the minimum point? Yes, now we can find the minimum point like extremely fast, right? Because of today's lesson. And now, very important, I need to teach you how to sketch. Now, I will have 2 graphs here. This is what is going on in your mind. This is the one that I'll be sketching. So please remember, you must put the x and the y, otherwise you'll lose 1 mark. I will penalize you. You must label the axis. So what's going on in your mind is like that. I have a point 0, negative 6, correct? I have a point 1, 0, and I have a point negative 3. You use your finger and do this. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So somewhere down here. Or you can use a ruler, 3 cm. Okay, it's up to you. And the last point is negative 1, negative 8. So roughly is down here. Negative 1, negative 8. Now the problem is this, and you must listen to this. You try to join these 4 points. And your graph always look very ugly one. Correct or not? Okay, so the smart thing to do is, I will draw a graph that cuts through all these points, but I don't label the points. But it must cut through the same parts. So it will cut through, I'll draw a bit longer. It will cut through here. So I do a invisible sketch. I'll cut through here, go down here, and cut through here. Again, do an invisible sketch. Cut the x-axis, turn, cut the y-axis. So once I'm very clear already that my lines goes like that, I will draw, and then I label. Then it will be a perfect looking curve. Okay? Now I show you what happens if I try to join. I don't do that. Okay, usually if I try to join, I draw a U shape first. This is the most difficult part. Then I join. Wow. Ugly like mad like that. Okay, please don't do that. So this is a very bad example. You will lose the mark. It's not acceptable. It's totally not acceptable because it's not even the U shape. Okay, so please do not. And I was trying to be very accurate already. Like my hand was like doing 1, 2, 3, and still you look like that. Okay.